one, hone it down. I compared the two, and there are many places where the old ones are more straightforward, tell you what you need to know, and take care of it. You really, please look at it carefully as you're doing your work.
In cities, which is kind of a, what would you call? Okay, anybody else wish to speak to the council? All right, I guess we'll move right along then. Our first discussion item is the USDA loan application and discussion about city facilities. Staff.
Thank you. This is, and I want to acknowledge the council rules are very important, but this one's free money, so I wanted to make sure that we, that we got through this while we had a quorum in the discussion piece. In October, we started doing some work over at the Umpqua Bank building to remove, as I like to say, to remove its bankiness and to make it more of a functional public facility. We have some ideas about what it should be used for, and I'll go into that in just a little bit. But one of the primary pieces, and one of the things that's very important for the members of the audience to be aware of, is we are soliciting public comment about this USDA proposal to spend this money so that the city doesn't have to on remodeling the facility. We're not spending a ton. It's only $50,000 of a total $70,000 project, and it really is just to move the tellers out of the way and put up walls and put up counter space so that it could be used for a myriad of different purposes. Although I will say that we do have kind of one specific in mind. Subsequently, and also one of the other big pieces of news, I will be asking the Waldport Council in the November meeting to accept and bring in the Waldport Heritage Museum, which has voted to join the city, much similar to the library, as a department under the city. This is going to be a tremendous asset to the city. It solves a myriad of complicated problems for us all. And at the same time allows us to showcase the museum in what I would hope you will all approve at that November meeting in the Interpretive Center, which we've now gotten the keys to from ODOT. So it really is starting to look at how we utilize each of these assets. So what I've provided for you is just a simple building cost analysis. Gives you an idea of what the square footage is, the market value of each building, the replacement cost of the building, and then the appraised value. This was provided, by the way, by a study that was done by our insurance provider. And I will tell you there's one value that's a little iffy because we didn't own the building at the time, so the insurance provider did not have that information, and that is the visitor center, the interpretive center. The appraised value is speculation at this point based on a quick conversation. We will, as directed by council, have an appraisal done here fairly shortly. Well, it might be a little longer than that, but we will have one done that will give us an actual appraised value. More importantly, I wanted to provide the costs, both in the electrical and the insurance, and per the guidelines that, I took a look at the different guidelines of what you should be spending on any physical structure and calculated based on that what we should be setting aside in a building reserve. And that's one of our big challenges right now. We do not have a building reserve set aside. So when the roof goes, we're pulling it out of contingency. I'm hunting for funds somewhere. It's very important that the city build up a building reserve so that over time, as the community center needs to get painted or something else, that we're not pulling money from other sources. So as such, you can see the different costs each building provides. And obviously, the most expensive building we have right now is this one right here. This is our most expensive building. It costs the most to keep the heat going. It costs the most to operate in general. It costs the most to insure. So what that says is that really at the end of the day, when we take a look at all these buildings, what can we use them for? I think right now that the direction that we've been kind of leaning towards is moving the museum as the attractor into the interpretive center. That would free up the museum building, and, you know, a year and a half ago, we had quite a large group of people in here who wanted to have conversations about the Arts and Cultural Center. That would free up the arts and, the museum, current museum building for an Arts and Cultural Center. That building is a very low cost. If you look here, it has a very low cost of entry. And that allows this new organization to kind of grow without having to have a tremendous overhead. At the same token...
Can I say a word about that?
Oh, please.
And we'd like to fix up the building too. I mean, to do some remodeling and some painting and some stuff too. So we would contribute to those costs too, if we were to get the building.
Well, and
Yeah.
in a fair point, if we put an Arts and Cultural Center there, there are a tremendous number of grants that will allow us to do that as well, to help and put some money into remodeling that building for that purpose. So that, as we start to move things around, the other analysis piece is we've got a consultant's report that we paid for last year that tells us our library is too small and too old. We've looked at some of the different options. We've looked at this building. We've looked at, we've given the consultant's report and what the space we need. There is no building downtown that satisfies our current library. So it is going to be my recommendation that we actually explore pursuing the library at another location and going out and getting a bond to build a new library. That's been common along the coast, and I'll have numbers and pieces of what that looks like and what our grant opportunities might be and what other cost sharings we might be able to do. But I think that is going to be the most likely option for the library. That leaves us with the Umpqua Bank Building and City Hall. We have had discussions with the fire district about purchasing because they've done an analysis and this is their best venue. Staying right here is the center of the city. It gives them the best options. It gives them the best capabilities of responding to fires quickly, which lowers everybody's property insurance because they get a ranking based on their time and their equipment. So they have a consultant right now who is giving them advice on how to do that within this building. If we were to sell this building, we would need to obviously relocate. And the most obvious choice until we come up with a location to move the city hall out of the tsunami